number still increasing as well. Good job, everyone. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so again, welcome to our second last sessions of the day. Start with understanding yourself. So as mentioned in this morning, this is a sessions with our strategic partner, and also if you remember when you apply to the Isaac membership, you receive a report. What is that? A community report, a core self report that you will fill in, and then you will get your own report. So today's we have the partner. At the same time, she was also our Isaac Malaysia alumni to be here to talk about these sessions. At the same time, also to explore more about yourself, right? Because we mentioned about the objective of the report is also for you to understand more about yourself. So that's why we have Ronnie here today. Yeah, so without further ado, I will pass the floor to Ronnie. Hi, Ronnie. Welcome back. You are muted. Everyone say hi to Ronnie.
Okay,
hi, Ronnie.
Sorry, like this is not my first time using Zoom, but surprisingly I have some technical error. But okay, so welcome everyone to the room. Right, I see a lot of faces. At least I have my first screen filled. Okay, let's see how many people we have today. Okay, so sometimes I would look at my secondary screen. So if I'll try not to doing it too much, so you can have me looking at you. So if you're familiar with Zoom sessions, right, you can actually click. You can adjust your setting just to see how it looks for you. So thanks, Lemi, for a very brief introduction. So I'm Ronnie, and I'm your FASI for today's session. And it's a very interesting session for me to be here to guide you through the journey of understanding yourself, because I think I'll introduce myself a bit in a while, because for me, this is something that I hold personally. That's something that I still doing. I would say that I'm still exploring myself, even though I've been graduated from Isaac per se, right? So first time being in a conference, I hope that you're still doing well, even though it's in a physical manner. So let's get started. Yeah, so this is me. I know I don't look like that anymore. See what COVIDs do to you, right? So, so I'm just going to share some numbers on the screen, right? 25537. So we'll go one by one. And this is some facts about me as a person, Ronnie, like what I've been through in Isaac. So start with number 2. So just take a wild guess, like what does 2 means? You can just drop your answer in your chat and I will refer to that. 2 years after graduating, 2 years with Isaac, siblings, companies, 2 years with Isaac, 2 companies. Whoa, okay. Keep trying, not there yet. 2 years with Isaac, close, a little bit. 2 kids, not yet. 2 countries, a little bit too little. 2 cats, I hope I have, but they have moved to Singapore. I'm a bit sad for that. 2 years with Isaac, no, not so much. Second daughter, not. 2 exes, a little bit too little for me, too few for me. Kidding. 2 pretty. Wow, Tanya, great job. Thanks for that. 2 years after graduating, Isaac. Wow, UPM kids. So yeah, so 2 means in this sense is that I've graduated from Isaac for 2 years. So my last experience, my last role in Isaac was in 2018/19. I would say 2019, like in 2018 and 19, I was the MCVP PM. So right now you have Garlic or Jalek, if you still recall his face in some plenary sessions throughout the conference. So he's basically the combination of 2 roles. So last time I was the people management MCVP. Okay, so 18/19. So I've been graduating from Isaac since then, 2 years. So I know in these 2 years, a lot of things have happened. So I would say my knowledge or understanding toward Isaac might not be as accurate as the FASIs or the current Isaacers that you have in Isaac so far. But definitely if I have any things that, so therefore I'm just here to give you a little bit of things that I have learned from my past ISAC experience. It might not be something that you would see it 100% applicable, but definitely feel free to take whatever that is applicable for you to apply in your upcoming ISAC journey. Right. So 2 years ago, that's my last role, MCVP PM. So the next one, 5. So I have 2. Let's just start with the first one, 5. What does 5 means? Is related to ISAC. 5 years in ISAC, okay. Okay, so it gets pretty easier right now, right? So I have 5 years of ISAC journey in total. I joined ISAC when I joined my university. So I'm from UPM. So who UPM in a room? And the second one is that, yeah, I know Lolami is from UPM as well. So fun fact is that she was my ED once. So ED means the executive board. So which means we were teammates a few years back then, 17, 18. It sounds very long for me because she's still in ISAC, but whereas I already been graduated for 3 years, right? So it's a bit weird for me to see her in this room as the MCP. Okay, but she's definitely there doing very well as an MCP, okay? Okay, so the second one, 5 years of ISAC. I have 5 years of ISAC journey. So guess what would be the second one? But I think some of you have guessed it. So okay, it's not that. So I've been throughout my 5 years of ISAC experience, I've been through 5 international conferences. I've been to Thailand, Korea, MOC, mainly of China. I would consider another one is, what was that? Canada and Egypt. Okay, so I think this is the privilege that I've gained when I joined ISAC, the opportunities to go to different places, to meet different people from the different parts of the world in a very physical manner. I know that's a privilege right now, but definitely I do think that that's one of the biggest, I would say the biggest opportunities that I get throughout my university years, where I get to work with different kind of people, very, very diverse team coming from different parts of the world. And it really helps me to open up my worldview. And that 5 different international conferences that I've been to, it helped me to be better at seeing myself and understanding myself as a member, as a team leader, as a better individual when I go through the different phases of my life. Right, so, and another 5, I think you have guessed it as well. So I've been in 5 different functions. So I joined as marketing member, so anyone in marketing team, and I sort of like taken out like double roles as OGV. So I was being reallocated to OGV team for 3 months, and I also worked in IGV before for another 3 months, and I ended up in finance, LCVP finance, and I returned to become LCVP PM. So in short is that I've been in marketing, OGV, IGV, finance, and PM. So I know finance and PM might not be recruiting right now from what I see from your naming wise, but these are the 5 different functions that I've been through. Right, so for me, my 5 years of ISAC experience is I would say my experience in marketing team and the product team, OGV and IGV team, putting me on the front line to see how exchanges works from my own eyes. It did help me to be better back office member, like be in finance and be in human resources, people management per se. Is because I know better what's the organization needs and what's the people needing, what's the businesses needs. So yeah, I think juggling between like going through different 5 functions did help me to be a better MCVP, I would say. So the last one, 37. Anyone wants to give a guess? What does 37 means? 37 rows. Nah, not that much. 37 years old. Good job, Lemhi. Projects, access, traveled country. No, events. Okay, events. Close to events. So I have hosted and participated on 37 conferences. so far. Yeah, so it's a mix of as a delegates, as a facis, but I would say 37 conferences, almost more than half of it are the conferences that either I organized, I hosted, and I facilitate. So this is the chance that I've been given to be able to organize, host, or facilitate in different conferences. So you would have your local one. Last time I had my local one. You have a regional one like this one, or a national one. I would say the national one like this one. And if you are more curious and anticipating for other opportunities, you can actually apply for different facilitators role in different countries conference. So that's something that I know other of my executive mates are doing that, but I wasn't doing that. But I've been through different international conferences that really helped me to give me the foresight of how things works. Right, so 37 conferences, it's throughout my 5 years journey. So if you divide by it, almost 7 conferences in a year. But to be honest, I'm not the kind that particularly enjoy conference in my first year of exec journey. I would say the first one is really the one that I dreaded myself to be there. I don't know how many of you are feeling the same way, but for sure, I'm not happy to be in my first conference because I felt like it's wasting time. That's me that time, right? I was thinking about it, and I was working part-time that time throughout my university life. So my first thought is that why do I need to pay for my conferences while I can earn some money? But if you see me still going for the upcoming 36 conferences, then you know I'm definitely getting some values from it, even though I'm still working part-time, right, that time. So yeah, so I wouldn't say that my first conference changed my entire view towards conferences in Isaac. I would just say that the more that you enjoy, you try to participate in it, the more that you would get value from it. So I think that was the moment when I realized that if I already been there, why not just enjoy myself? Why not just spend some time to be there, to learn something and to get the most out of the time that I spend there, and commitment for sure. Okay. Oh, so, okay. So I think, yeah. So is this the 37 one? I think I lost count after I ended my exec journey. So I just remember 37 when I finished my last conference in July in 2019. So plus minus, I think that would be more, right? So I didn't play cheat to count like this kind of sessions as the subsequent one. Yeah, I'm very integrity in that way. So a little bit about me, myself, is that currently, as Lemmy has introduced me as the partner from community, if you put some slight attention, you might record my name somewhere from the emails that we received from community from your report, yes. So therefore, I would say I have very diverse roles and responsibilities in my career at the moment. So I have different commitments that I'm going through, but in detail, I think rather than showing you how many commitments I'm in, but what I wanted to show you is just the field and area that I'm being involved. So my current roles involve things that is in innovation, particularly corporate innovations. If you have been listening about it throughout the COVID times, companies that are seeking for transformation journey, bigger corporations, they wanted to be more innovative. So I work in that field of area. Second thing is that because of the nature of job, I did a lot, I'm still doing a lot of training and development stuff. So for example, conducting sessions like this, running sprint sessions for corporates and companies, facilitating the output of their innovation planning journey. Other than that, I'm also very involved in people and operations. So I create people and operations solutions. So that's something I pick up after being in people management role. I also figure out that I would enjoy myself more in people and operation roles. And I'm also doing tons of HR job. And yeah, so that's basically me doing work right now, like in these 4 different areas. So if you are, I know you are quite young and new in your journey of life, but if you have anything that you're just curious and wanted to know more about, like the different area or attributes that I'm working in, the workforce right now, just feel free to text me and let me know, like, if you wanted me to share a little bit more about my experience on my journey in these different areas. Right, so that could also be something that you keep in mind if you have anything that you wanted to ask more, you can just let me know later in Q&A sessions. Okay, right. So I think from that, I also know that you have been going through few sessions that earlier you have been given 2 slots, I think, to go through 2 different breakout sessions based on the exact value sessions that the sessions that have been created based on exact value. So if I could, please, anyone, if you can unmute or just type your answers in the chat. I just wanted to go one by one, right? So from the sessions that you have attended just now, can you just briefly let me know what are your key takeaways from the sessions that you have attended earlier? So let's start with activating leadership, maybe, right? The first one. So anyone that have been through that sessions, could you just briefly share like what is your key takeaway from the session? I just need like 2, 3 key takeaways that you have gained from the session itself. Okay, so if you feel more comfortable just by typing it out, just type it in the chat. I'm looking at it right now. If you're just sick of typing down your answers, you can just unmute yourself and shout your answers very quickly.
Really?
Yep.
I think I'll be sharing one of the things that I'm thinking now. So in the activating leadership, right? I've actually learned about empathy. Empathy is a most important thing that being a leader, and then also communication. Having a two-way communication is actually like helping us to develop more peace and I think it's like lovely working environment. Yeah, so I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Vivian for sharing that. I think from Camila sharing is leadership is not about handle teammates in group, but also know more about each other. It's not just about handling teammates. Okay, thanks for sharing. Anyone has anything that is different from what Vivian and Camila has shared?
Yeah, I can share. Just now I attended a session with enjoying participation. And then from there, after hearing all the stories from the FESI, and then I realized that youth is not just like small baby. I mean, like age is nothing. Even youth also can make changes. It's just where the matter of fact that are you willing to take the action? Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Great, we have 3 nice key takeaways. So I know if you miss out that sessions, hopefully you can just take these sessions as the sessions to understand what other people have been learning throughout their sessions. The second one would be acting sustainably. Anyone would just quickly share about your key takeaway?
Yeah, I was in the acting sustainably group. So we're learning about time management, like knowing your priorities and how to schedule your tasks.
Okay, thanks Peanut. That's a very cute name. Anyone else has anything? So it's more on time management and making sure yourself is sustainable, right? Anyone has anything that is different from your key takeaways, what you have learned?
I think I can share a little bit about what I learned in the acting sustainably. So I also learned that we should also identify like the important tasks that we need to do and like set your own priorities and make your own time management, because we cannot do everything at once, because I just remember that if you have to actually make your own time management to actually finish all that you don't have to do. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Irene, for sharing that. Yeah, I think most of the time I get like very interesting perspective and sharings from people also. Like I do think that time management is not only like youth are struggling with it, but even though right now I still hear my colleagues or my teammates saying that they are still struggling with their time, their priorities and their tasks. So I definitely see that if you can nail it right now, you can definitely handle the job outside when you finish your university degree or Isaac journey, right? Anyone else has anything to share or to add on to the points? Okay, let's move to the next one, striving for excellence.
Hi, I'd like to share for striving for excellence. So the key takeaways that we learned during the session is to have a growth mindset, willing to try new things and accepting feedbacks from others as feedbacks getting feedbacks is also a skills, and also excellence means to constantly improve ourselves and build ourselves into someone better. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Elsie. So I think Amanda also mentioned that it isn't about being. Yeah, so Amanda also mentioned in the chat, like, it isn't about perfection or being perfectionist. It's about growth mindset and to be open for feedback, listen, understand, analyze, reflect, and take action. Great. Definitely sounds like interesting sessions to go through. Yeah, so it's okay you are not perfect as long as you are better than yesterday version of yourself. Okay, right. Thanks for sharing that. So next one, living diversity.
May I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so from the living diversity, the main point that I have learned and take away is about like you have your own value, but you can impact others. You cannot go and change, like you force others to change. It's about how you can fit inside the team and impact others. Yeah, that is very important things. Yeah, that's all from me for this.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Li Ting. Right, anyone else has like things that is different or wanted to add on Li Ting's point?
Hi, I'd like to share about living diversity. So the main point that I got is like the diversity can also be interpreted in a way that everyone is unique and everyone is different from one another. And Isaac or like everywhere else can also be your platform to like learn to get along and understand each other. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for that, Kim. Right, so moving on next, let's go to enjoying participation. I think I roughly brought it out just now, so just wanted to hear from you. What have you learned from the session? Right, so if you need to take your time to type it out in the chat, go ahead. If not, you can just unmute and just speak it out, right? No one? Oh, okay. So let me go and tell the fascists like no one learned anything from that session. Okay, sorry. Okay, I will come back to enjoying participation, okay? So the second last one, demonstrating integrity. Anyone would like to just share quickly, like what's your key takeaway from the session?
Yeah, I think I'll share a bit. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Danish. I was in the demonstrating integrity session just now, and I think knowing yourself is very important. Know your values, know your core values, what you live by. And after you learn about your values, you have to be brave, be confident enough to enforce that value, to be brave enough to be yourself. And even though it's a little bit weird sometimes, but yeah, I think it's important to enforce your own values, be confident enough, know your values, and don't care too much about what other people think. I mean, yeah, take in the constructive feedback, but and then about the negative ones, you pandai-pandai lah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Thanks, Danish, for sharing that. Anyone else has anything to add on for demonstrating integrity? I'll go back to enjoying participant in a bit. So people who have attended demonstrating integrity, anything else that you get out from the session?
Yeah, it's me again, Kinet.
Okay.
Basically from this session, we learned that to have what is our 3 personal key values and how we actually want to develop the values, and by also develop other people through the values that we have. Yeah. And I also learned that if you have too many values, it means you don't have any value, personal values. Yeah. Basically more than 3
Okay.
is too much. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting thoughts. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So anyone else has anything that is interesting that you wanted to share from your key takeaway?
Still demonstrating integrity, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so from demonstrating integrity, at first we were given time to write about our 3 important moments that happened. So at that moment was still hard because there are so many important moments, and from there we have to decide many important values to ourselves, and finally cutting off it into 3. So those 3 are really something that represents ourselves, and we have these 3 values that we have to be true to ourselves and keep it, because it is what makes us unique.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Interesting sharing. Okay. Right. So going back to the last one, right? Enjoying participation. So anyone wanted to share? Yeah, just to, justify that Lisin did a great job. Poor Lisin.
Hi, I think I can share.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just want to say that listening really appreciate.
Okay.
So the first thing that she said about is that youth can also play. Oh, she's not here. Okay, youth can actually play important role. Like it doesn't have to be people who are old, and then only they have the authority to actually make a change in our community. We actually can also make a change because there are many youth, and if every single person actually maybe volunteers or participate in events that helps our community, and also for the B40 communities as well, we can actually make a change in helping our nation, like for unprivileged people, especially when we don't realize relatives around us are actually also underprivileged, and we only constantly think about international issues. This is actually what Ashley emphasized on. We just think we concern ourselves too much with international issues, international people not having enough education, when our local country is also facing the same problem, although not as severe. Yeah, that's what I got.
Thanks for sharing that, Kat.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I think Yanni shared something in the chat as well. So Lishin showed us like the participants a video which is about youth leadership, and for her personally, she likes the quote that she shared. Youth have to speak up, speak louder, and we as youth are able to make a change for a better world. Yeah, I think as Isaac definitely is a good platform to explore that. Because for me, that's also something I learned personally for me, realizing that how powerful youth power could be, and it's something that you can just start right from yourself, but not expecting anything else change in the world. Okay, so thanks for sharing all the key takeaways that you have gotten out from the sessions previously. And the reason why I brought it up here is also to understand what you have been through in terms of the content in the sessions that you have learned. And interestingly, I think what I'm seeing right now is that I think this would be like the all-in-one mashed up sessions, right? So you will learn a little bit about feedback, you will learn a little bit about self-understanding, because throughout the things that you have shared, it's about understanding yourself better so that you can accept the diversity factors in other people, and so that you can build better relationship with them. It's also about learning how to manage yourself. That's what I'm hearing as well. other than that is also how can we be socially more aware of things that are happening out there, and how can we play a part in that situation or scenarios, right? So so take this as a sessions that consistently, I think constantly, like in your back of your head, you can start thinking about how does the sessions that I'm going to walk you through being related, or like how can you correlate them in a way, because as someone shared just now, I think it's very beautifully painted. Is I think it's something that about demonstrating integrity is that when we are saying that we wanted to live up to our values, it's not only happening when people are watching over you, over your shoulder, but it's something that you will do it even though people are not watching at you, right? So so let's take a look at what's going to happen for the next 45 minutes, I believe, that I have left, 30 minutes. So for me personally, I think the moment that I learn about like having learning about more in depth about Isaac values, or to be more exact, it would be values that I perceive I have in my life as Ronnie, as an individual. I started to hear this quote from books or from the seniors that I'm talking to. So people usually would say that everything will start with understanding myself. So that's a big question marks for me, because when I hear this quote that people keep telling me, like, you can change the world just by changing your perspective towards the world. And someone also said this to me, right? Like, you can change the people around you by start changing your approach to the people. And I'm very, very, very confused, honestly. Like, when I started off like my self-exploration journey, it wasn't a pleasant one, I would say, because I have a lot of perceptions towards who I need to be or who I want to be. And so when things happens in, I would say in Isaac, in my part-time job, in my family, or in the interactions that I have with my classmates, I usually will have all these kind of information when you're working with people or being with people. So sometimes I would feel like I hate working with that person. I'm just pissed off, and it's like there's particular things that are happening when I'm looking at how the way that they are doing things, the way that they are speaking, the way that they are talking, I'm just pissed, right? And sometimes this happens to my siblings as well. Like, out of nowhere, I would just be super pissed off. And sometimes you would also ask this question, like, why is that person like that, right? Like, why? Like, you just couldn't understand. You just keep asking, like, why is that person like that? And how can the person do that thing to you or to other people? Like, why is it even happening in that way? Or sometimes you will ask, like, I feel sad because of what? And trying to just figure it out, right? Like, why do you feel sad? Why do I feel sad about things that is that small? Like, people say that it doesn't matter at all, but why do I still feel sad about it? So all in all, it goes back to these one main questions that I started to ask myself. Like, it's not out of nowhere, definitely, when these thoughts are arising. Like, I think instead of keep looking at what other people are doing, I started to have more questions, especially working at Isaac, people keep asking you this question, like self-reflection, right? So keep asking about you rather than other people. So I started to have these questions in my mind. Why am I like this? So why am I hate working with certain people? Why am I hate being with certain groups of people? Why am I so angry when certain things are happening around me? Or what makes me feel sad? Or what makes me feel insecure? So I started to have these kind of questions in my head. And I realized that it all started from this, right? Like, being aware of me having the thought is actually the start of it. So being self-aware means that you started to notice and acknowledge your thoughts, your behaviors, your emotions, and even your reactions in your day-to-day interaction. It could just be for yourself. So for example, when I just sad, right? Like, sometimes people say that you will just have a period of time that you will just feel blue all in a sudden. I don't even have that moment, but I do see that for me, it's not something that is weird at all. So it happened quite frequently when I was teenager. Just that coming forward to university life, like I started to notice that it becomes more frequent in a way. So sometimes you will just ask things like that, right? Like, why am I like this? Or why is it happening in this way? So that moment of acknowledgement is the start of being self-aware. And then start with understanding. The next things to look into is about managing those emotions and those behaviors. So self-awareness doesn't just stop right there. The second thing that after self-awareness is about how you're managing those emotions, right? And when you get better at managing yourself, you will see that you would be better at managing a relationship as well. So it's not only about intimate relationship that we are talking here. So it could also be relationship within team, your teammates, your families, your friends, or it could just be your workers, co-workers relationship. So there's a lot of things that started from that. And I think just now hearing you guys share about relationship, living diversity, right? It's about accepting who they are without forcing them to change. I think that would only happen when you started to be more aware and you know how to manage yourself, accept yourself, and then you would only be able to accept other people behaving in certain ways. And last but not least is the fact of being socially aware. So only when you know how to build healthy relationship with people around you, you started to be more empathetic and be able to put yourself out from the picture and started to ask yourself that questions like, how can I contribute more or play a bigger role in the society or in the world? And it all starts from self-awareness. So I don't know if you know about this. I think if you're aware, I think this is something that it came super popular in the past 5 years. People keep saying that in order to be successful at workplace, it doesn't sufficient just having high IQ in that IQ, right? Having high IQ would help you to get into the job, but in order for you to stay in a job, EQ is the essential components of skills that you have to learn. And these 4 components are actually the 4 fundamentals of emotional intelligence. And it all started from self-awareness. And that's also the thing that I started to realize more when I started to study on my own, like what does self-awareness really means, and started to ask the questions, why am I like this? And therefore, for today's space, I wanted to do this, right? So everything starts from self-awareness, and I wanted to just introduce something very simple that I learned through myself as well. So the actions of understanding yourself by asking the questions, what can I do better to understand myself? The simple answer to it is just ask, right? Sounds very stupid when I'm putting these slides, but I think that's definitely something that I learned throughout my journey. It's very difficult to do that. But the fact that I do also notice that I can't rely on myself to see what I can't see, right? Especially on your blind spots. So I don't know if you have experienced a certain moment of time when you just felt so angry when you received a piece of advice or suggestion from your friends or any strangers or your enemy or your rivals saying that, yeah, you are this, and that. And then you are totally disagreeing with the fact because you don't think that's the person that he or she describing you. And I would say I come to, it sounds very old, but I come to realize that actually there might be a possibility, or there's definitely a portion of statements that are true in the facts that the person is bringing out it to me. So instead of asking like why the person is saying this to me and why is she doing that to me, I start to teach myself to ask better questions is by asking myself, what can I learn better from the person's feedback in order for me to improve myself or be a better version of myself. And therefore, I just want to introduce you a very simple activity that you are going to do in the next 20 minutes. Okay, so be prepared for it. So I want you to talk to at least 3 of your closest friends or family members. Since you are stuck at home right now, it should be pretty easy for you to do it. And trust me, it's going to be super awkward, super difficult, and you would have the tendency wanted to laugh it over. But if you're not, then great, you have a very good start of it. So I want to talk to at least three of your friends, families, or anyone that you think you can get some good insights from them, and ask them these 3 questions. So just by telling them like what you are trying to do here, and just ask them, what do you think I am good at? What have you observed about things that I'm really bad at? And how would you describe me as your maybe sisters, daughter, friends, close friends? or even girlfriend or boyfriend, right? If you have a partner with you. So, so just to understand and treat this as a fact-finding experiment. You are not trying to prove anything, to take note of it. You're just trying to fact find. So imagine if you're the reporter, right? You're just trying to find out what's happening in their head without thinking that they are commenting on you. It's super difficult, I would assure you. At least for me, I was having a very, very tough time when I had my first conversation about feedback, asking for feedback. So, but I really wanted you to use this next 20 minutes to try this out and at least speak to 3 different people. If you feel really awkward, just call them instead of having face-to-face conversation. I don't know if that would be weirder if you're in the same house, but let's do that, right? Keep yourself comfortable, at least get the content out of it. I think that's the more important thing. Treat yourself as a reporter trying to find out what this person is thinking about you, but don't see yourself as you, but just as a third party. And let's get started. So before that, any questions? Okay, so I will start my timer very soon so that we would just keep you don't need to leave your Zoom, just be here off your camera and we'll come back after 20 minutes. Okay, cool. Okay. Just want to make sure is everyone back into the room. Okay, if you are back, just wanted to see how many do you manage to get to talk to. I know I cut short the time a little bit, so just put out the numbers that you have talked to. Oh, some people managed to get 3. Great, great. Vivian get 1, Nadia get 1, 2. Oh, okay. Some people managed to get 3. Interesting. So some people only get 1. So I so I assume that the people who get 1, you might be distracted from the conversation, or are you trying to opening up the conversation for too long? So for me, last time I remember when I was doing it for the first time, it was super awkward that I used like the first 10 minutes just to talk about why I'm doing this, because I'm just too embarrassed to ask for it. So yeah, if you're feeling that is totally normal, and if you can just get it pang, like straight to the point, I definitely admire that in you. I don't know how you can do that, because I'm super embarrassed for the first time doing it. Okay, asking them on the chat is a good start, a smart one as well. So I think a little bit of sharing about how, like, so about the activities that I'm asking you to do, right? So the key thing about it is to get a channel and a platform and a touch point to understand and learn from other people's perspective, how are you being perceived. So the key point here is not to be the version of you where you think that's the version of you that would please other people. That's not my intention at all. But at least it has to be true at certain point of your life that or in your knowledge, what you perceive you are as a person has to be consistent with what people are perceiving you as, right? So usually arguments or conflicts happen when you have the gap. So a lot of time that's people call like the gap of the truth, right? You see something that maybe you see something as a flower, but other people see it as vegetable. It's a very bad example, but you get my point. So sometimes you're just not seeing the same thing because it's coming from different perspective and different understanding of things. And I do think that the first step of self-awareness usually is by asking people how they are perceiving you so that you can identify your blind spot very, very quickly. And other than that, definitely the key points here is to take something out from the conversations that you have had and try to extract certain learnings that you have gotten. So I hope that from the previous feedback sessions, you know that not every feedback would be useful sometimes. You definitely have to put on the filter to know, like, for example, from whatever things that you have learned from previous sessions, right? Whether it's something that you wanted to commit to your core values, is that some behaviors that you see is very contradictory to your core values, something that you wouldn't want to commit to, and because people are pointing that out, you will want to improve in that area. But some areas of life, you are doing it, but you just don't give a shit about it, which is fine as well. So for example, I know some people, they are very, so for example, for me, I have very specific attention towards detail in certain part of my life. So in specific is that I have certain ways that I wanted to do things when it comes to house chores. Very specific, right? So I really like, so I give you a simpler example so that you know it's really something as small as that. You can get that hook of it and understanding like why is it important to be aware of that. So for example, I know that I have a very specific habits of wanting to clean my dishes right away when I finish using them. But I know some people will just pile the dishes and wash it at one shot, but that's just not me, right? And people are giving me that feedback. I'm giving the person that feedback, housemates and whoever they're living in together with me. The thing is that I know I have this tendency, and people who knows that they doesn't have the habit of doing it, they are cool with it as well. So the thing is not about changing so that you can adapt, because things like that doesn't really matter unless you see the needs of changing it. Otherwise, then I wouldn't want to change it just because people are feedbacking on that. I hope you get my point. So sometimes the next step of it after you learning from the feedback is to determine what are the feedbacks that you consciously take a mental note to know and tell yourself that this is something I'm going to work on and this is something that I'm not going to work on at this point of time, right? So, but the action of taking in the information is important. When you are making a consistent choice of not taking action of it, conscious choice of not taking action of it, you are acknowledging that this is something might happening in your life, but not denying it, right? the power of knowing is very powerful. So the fact is that not denying it is already a huge effort that you're putting in. Okay, so knowing and doing it is two different things, and you shouldn't be relating that hand in hand. Right, so other than talking to people, another easy way to do it is from any personality test tools or whatever tools that are out there, right? So one of it that you have been through is from the report that you have gotten from when you're applying for the member position in Isaac. So you would receive this report from me. So this is my sample report, for example. But the key three things that is being highlighted in the report is first, your purpose. So this is to help to understand what are the drivers or factors that matters to you. So for example, for me, flexibility, well-being, and growth is something that I will look for in any team environment, or I would say working environment I'm looking forward for. And when I'm consistently looking for the factors that align with my purpose at work, it would help me to achieve my fulfillment better, right? So I would consistently seek for it. If I cannot get it from my team leaders or from my team, the easier way to do it is to relate my purpose to what I'm doing on the hand, right? So tools like that can help you to identify your purpose. Another thing that you can get out from the report is your personality. So here, what we define as personality are your 10 different working styles. So sometimes you would hear comments from your feedback when you're asking your mom, maybe sometimes they would tell you that, so for example, my mom, she would say that, I think you're a kid that really knows how to plan your own path. I don't need to worry about you that much because you will just get things done. You'll find your own money to study. You'll find your own money to just do things that you want, yada, yada, yada. So some people would say that, right? For example, making plan. I'm a person that's planning ahead, like super ahead. You get it when I have the moment of pause is because I'm extremely there. But it started to tone it down when I started to work in Isaac with different teams that I realized that planning ahead is not the same thing as sometimes planning ahead doesn't necessarily serve the best for the team, because being adaptable sometimes doesn't mean that it's the best way for the team as well. So it's just that throughout my years, I started to learn that planning ahead is not one or two of the qualities that my team would appreciate, especially when I'm leading team. They wanted a clarity, they wanted a direction, but when I'm working out the plan, they wanted the room of flexibility for them to do things that they think it makes sense. So for you, if you are members that wanted to do things at your own flexibility and at your own timing, the key idea of the personality test or looking at your 10 different working styles is to understand that might be a potential or possibilities where you are just different on this spectrum of working styles, right? So sometimes when you are not seeing eye to eye with certain people, it doesn't mean that that person is a bad person. It just means that maybe in a way that you are making decision or when you are making plans, you just have different preference. And by knowing that preferences, by knowing how to negotiate and come to a middle ground, it's not compromising, it's making middle ground. It will definitely help you to nurture a healthy relationship in working in a team as well. So this is just a good foresight for you to understand as look at what are the areas that you might see yourself, or you might see or hear people saying that you are really good at this, but some people might say that you are really bad at these things. It's really up to your choice and decision to make. What do you feel comfortable and what do you want to challenge yourself to change and improve on based on who you are right now, right? So another element that you get from a report, I think, is potential talent. So it's something like quick 5 talents, potential skills that you can find yourself doing great at if you are investing your time and commitment into it. Okay. So other than tools, I think the next steps to look at is then what, right? So this is a very simple goal setting tool that I wanted to share with you, which I'm still using it from time to time right now. And if you can have it with you, that would be great. So I think the point of having resolution is when you have small goals that you can break down every quarter to meet so that your resolution will make sense to you. So the goal setting method, I think you would have definitely heard about it before, is the SMART goal method. But if you wanted to do it, I would suggest you to split it into 4 groups, right? On your paper or on your notebook, you split it into 4 segments. And SMART goal first is about specific. So when I'm talking about specific, it's about setting the goal that would matter to you and that is specific as it is lah. So from all the feedbacks that you've gotten, you could also, based on your report, pick one area that you want to develop in yourself in the next 90 days. So I just set a time frame for you, therefore you don't have a key element there. In the next quarter, what is the one thing that you wanted to improve and or see yourself improving in the next 90 days? Right. And after setting a goal, what makes sense would be setting the measurables. By asking yourself these questions, how do you know when you have achieved your goal? Make sense? And in order for you to achieve that, you have to ask yourself, what are actions that you can take? Or you can, for me, I believe power habits. You don't rely on your willpower because willpower is just a myth. Rely on your day-to-day actions. What are the 1, 2, 3 actions that could help you to achieve your goal and your measurables if you do it every day? Okay. Last but not least is that why is it matter to you? Like, why is it relevant for you to improve this skill? And for me, I particularly think that figuring out why it's relevant or related to, why is it matter to you, is as important as when you set the goal. Right. So for example, if you say that I wanted to be a better presenter or communicator because it matters to me to be a better presenter or communicator, it's because I think it would help me to be better at doing sales. Right. But the key next questions that you have to ask yourself again is, why does it matter for you to be a key salesperson in the team or in your work later on? Why do you want to be a good presenter? Maybe eventually what you will figure out is that what is related to what would drive you the most is when you realize that because I just feel good when people are buying into my ideas, when people are agreeing with me, and when I'm selling, I feel like people are agreeing to me and I'm achieving great stuff, right? And it might not be the relevance that you would hear from people saying, right? People might give you the superficial answer because I want to be a best salesperson, but why does being a best salesperson matters to you that much? Maybe you can share things like, because I just feel good, like I just like to get that attention. I just wanted to feel the sense of achievement. And in the relevant column, why is it so important to have that? Because you're not feeling this for other people, but you are feeling this for yourself. And if you don't have enough motivations and drive, it's not going to help you any longer than 10 days in implementing all the small actions. Okay, so this is definitely a good format that I'm still using right now. So if you want to take a quick screenshot, you can definitely take it, but I believe that the slides will be shared to you. And it will definitely be useful if you just do it on your own. Maybe today, after finishing the conference, just spend like 30 minutes of time just to think and gather all the inputs that you have gotten from your report, from people that you have gathered feedback from, just to see what is the one area that you want to pick to develop yourself in yourself. Okay. And therefore, I think to recap of it is that this is the model, the very simple model that I just mentioned just now. Everything starts from self-awareness. And by choosing an area to develop, that's actually part of self-management already, right? Knowing where you want to improve on so that you can manage yourself better, time management, as just now mentioned, is also part of self-management skills. Other than that, you have other areas like how to define your purpose, how to find your purpose. That's actually part of self-management skills as well. There's a lot of things that you can look into when talking about self-management. And then it will definitely help you to improve your relationship management and also your social awareness, right? But key thing is that I wanted to highlight is this thing, right? The goal of self-understanding doesn't just stop at self level. The purpose of emotional intelligence doesn't just stop right there. It just don't stop at the eye level because it's always not just about you, yourself. And I definitely have gone through a hard time to deal with my egoistic self. So it's definitely difficult to admit sometimes to the point that you realize that you are very self-centered or self-obsessed. I bet that maybe like some of you might still think that it's not you in that situation. And trust me, I've been through that. I think everyone would have that area of life that we are definitely self-absorbed to a very extreme level. But the goal of it is when you're understanding yourself, it's not just about knowing you in that area and that's all. But the key thing about emotional intelligence is how can you put yourself out of the picture and start looking out and see what other people are doing, how you're affecting other people, how other people are affecting me, yourself, without the need of wanting people to change, but much more on knowing how to change your approach so that things would change. That sounds very theoretical right now. Yeah, but it's definitely not stopping at eye level, but it's also about the people around you and the world that you are living, the society that you are in at this current phase of your life, right? So that's pretty much it for this session. I know I have been a bit late of time, so I will just open a quick space for Q&A. Otherwise, then I would pass it back to Lermin. Hey, Lermin. Okay, do you have any questions so far?
If you have questions, you can raise your hand. Okay, cool. Okay, seems like everyone is cool. Okay, Dennis. Okay, thanks, Ronnie, for the sharing. For delegate, right now we will have a break until 5 p.m. And the next sessions will be for United Malaysia. But please come back a bit earlier